Welcome to episode 2.
Coming up, we've got a feature on traditional Tenkara rods.
We're going to have a close look at Tenkara manipulation techniques.
We've got a great interview with Kazuo Kurahashi.
And we're also going to have a really quick tip with a former competition angler who now lives in Japan.
But first, here's some Tenkara fishing.
Welcome to Tenkara in Focus. First of all, a big thanks to everyone who's commented on the show, who's sent in likes, who's asked questions on email and everything in the Facebook groups. It's been really well appreciated.
Yeah.
But especially to the people who supported us in our project by downloading the paid media. So a big thumbs up to you guys.
Now, I don't know if you noticed, but in the opening fishing sequence at the start of the programme, Paul was actually using a bamboo rod.
And that's not a split cane rod that you might see in fly fishing. This is actually a whole bamboo, so it's the full culm of the bamboo stem that's used to make these rods for this traditional style of fishing.
Now, we've been studying these cane Takazao rods for a while now, and Paul was actually the first person in the West to discover a particularly historic rod in a Japanese museum. Do you want to tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, you say discovered it was more a bit, sort of complete fluke would be a bit.
Across.
Because what it was Omachi Alpine Museum actually had this exhibit that I was aware of, and I got in contact with them.
Yeah.
They were kind enough to actually supply me with photographs to use on our website. But it was only when I got the email back and they had the tag that identified what it was that I noticed that they'd written in English as well as the Japanese characters. It belonged to Shinaimon Toyama.
Yeah.
And because we'd read the Diary of Ernest Saitou and the Diary of Climbing Mount Tateyama, I actually realised that Toyama-san was Ernest Satou's guide on that historic mention of Tenkara for one of the first times it's ever recorded in the English language. So a complete fluke, but yeah, we happen to have this picture of that famous historic rod, which is just incredible, really.
It might be worth noting that the rod in the museum is maybe not the same rod as used with Ernest Saitou. I imagine these rods were quite short-lived, as they were more or less just a cane.
I think that is that literally that thing, isn't it? Cutting it from the hedge, if you like, and just using it straight away. But it certainly was a rod that belonged to that.
Yeah, we got some great pictures of Toyama-san's fly tying. Sort of, it looked like he tied at the riverside a little basket of things. So we'll put a picture of that up on screen now, can't we?
Yeah.
On our first trip to Japan, within the first couple of days, we had a bit of a sort of almost a baptism of fire in cane Tenkara rods with Ishigaki sensei, Oni, and a guy named Hirata-san. We got introduced to quite a lot of different cane rods, from single piece cane rods to multi-piece cane rods. And to be honest, I think I'll speak for you on this as well, we were a little bit sceptical as to just how good a cane rod could be. What is essentially just a piece of bamboo. But we were really surprised by the recovery, the lightness and the overall usability of cane rods.
In 2015, we were absolutely privileged to meet for the very first time with Shouichi Saitou. Now, we'd come across him because he'd actually starred in a documentary that we'd had a peripheral part in, that I think Dr. Ishigaki sort of shoehorned us into this TV programme. But one of the main characters was Saitou-san, and he's multi-talented. He's a cane rod builder. He's an innovator of catch and release. I think it's probably one of the first, if not the very first, catch and release fishery in Japan. And he actually instigated that, along with a load of habitat works to sustain the natural fish populations in the area. He's massively central to the community of Itashiro, which is the small mountain village that he lives in. Phenomenal character, and we were just so fortunate to spend time with him and ultimately sort of get more information on these traditional cane rods that he makes.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say he's an all-round historian of sort of his region's Tenkara. He told us some fantastic stories about sort of origins and names, and the shrine in Itashiro, things like that.
Yeah, and almost like the next generation of living relatives that actually lived by using Tenkara, going up into the mountains and sort of using it as a way of subsistence, and that's within sort of the generational memory of the Ishiro village people. So yeah,
we had a great chat with Saitou-san about cane rods, and here it is now.
Saitou-san, can you explain the reasons why you like to use bamboo rods?
はい、日本にはテンカラという釣りが昔からあって、で昔の人たちがその魚を釣るのに素材は日本は竹の竿で使ってたと。
People have been fishing Tenkara in Japan for a very long time, and from those ancient times, people have been using bamboo rods.
もちろん竹はナチュラル自然の産物であるし、その産物でその昔のように魚と対峙するっていうのはすごくフェアだと思うんで。
Bamboo is a natural material, and to use this natural material in your competition, in challenging the trout, is I think a fair way of doing things. How long might it take to complete a rod such as the one we've got here in front of us?
時間はですね、作ることよりも山で切ってきてからその自然乾燥させるのに時間がかかるんです。
So rather than making the rod, the time taken to go out to the mountains, find and cut the bamboo and dry it is what takes time.
山に生えてる状態で3年以上のもの、3歳以上のものを切ってきます。それから家へ持ち帰ってから2年間自然乾燥はしてから作るので、この竹が生まれてから5年経たないと作業にはかかれないですよね。だからそういう時間がすごく長いですね。
So the bamboo that I cut is about 3 years old, and then I take it home and dry it for 2 years. So that's in total 5 years.
で竹はほぼまっすぐ生えてるんですが、でもこうして見るとかなり曲がってるんですね。それを今度はその何度も火というか熱をかけてこう曲がりを直す作業を1回や2回ではできないので5、6回以上、それのインターバルを置いてもう1ヶ月ぐらいほっといてまた直す、また1ヶ月ぐらい置いといてまた直すっていう。
Bamboo looks straight, but if you look at it, it's got all sorts of kinks and bends in it, so it needs to be straightened by heating it, and that process needs to be done several times, I think 5 or 6 times, and then in between each of those straightenings, you would leave the bamboo for around a month.
それで今度熱を入れても焼いちゃうとすごく弱くなるんで、今度ポキンと折れやすくなっちゃうんで、それはやっぱり緩い熱を何回も加えるというそういう。
So if you burn the wood, it's going to be brittle and break, so you've got to put a gentle heat on it.
そういうことを考えると、半年とか1年ぐらいかかっちゃいますね。その出来上がるまでには。作業というよりもその間は時間がかかるんですよね。とにかく。そうですね。
So you can appreciate that that's going to take quite a long time, and it's really more than the time that you're actually working on the bamboo is the waiting time. Are there different types of bamboo used for different sections of the rod, to the handle and the main rod?
日本名でこちらは鈴竹って言います。
鈴竹。
はい。
So the rod itself is made of
こちらの竿の部分が鈴竹。こちらが補定竹です。
補定竹 for the handle。
補定竹って言うんですけど、こうボコボコボコボコってこうなってる。これはもう本当自然な 自然の造形物なんで、みんな一つずつ違いますね。
It's a natural material, and each one is different.
Is it important that the rod maker also fishes and understands the style of fishing that the rod is designed for?
すごく大事だと思いますね。竿を作る前に、竿を作る技術よりも大事なのは、その人がその釣りを知っていることだと思います。だから、実際特にテンカラのようにちょっと特殊な釣りは、強度が必要になるんで、テンカラは特に強い合わせとかしますから、普通の釣りとはちょっと違うから、それを知らない人が竿を作るとポキッと折れやすかったりするんで、まあ私は自分がこれで釣れる道具を作ってるんで、芸術品を作るつもりはないので。
So it's very important that the person making it is a fisherman. Actually uses it to fish, particularly with Tenkara rods, where the striking action could be quite strong. You need to understand that and make a rod that is strong enough. So I make these things as tools and not as works of art. They are to be used.
I noticed that both the horsehair lines and the nylon lines that Saitou-san uses are twisted together and tapered. Is that part of the tradition, enjoyment of tradition for him?
そうですね。それもやって作るんですけど、それも伝統的なもので、ちなみに今レベルラインっていうのが主流ですけど、レベルラインではダメなんです。というのは、レベルラインを振ろうとすると、速いもう竹には難しい速い振りが必要になるんで、そうするとこれに対するインパクトが大きいというかダメージが大きいんで、竹の竿の場合はゆったりと振るってことがこの竿の使い方なんで、そのためにそのラインに少し重みを持たせるという、そのためにそのより糸っていうのが僕は必要だと思うので、で
So with a bamboo rod, it's different. With a level line, the action is quite quick, but that doesn't really suit a bamboo rod. So for a bamboo rod, it's better to have a line with some weight in it.
このラインも含めたこの竹竿っていうのがクラシックスタイルで、
so the classic style is to use.
そこがすごく大切なんですよ。
It's very important to understand that the classic style is to use the appropriate type of line with the bamboo rod.
でこれを自分でやるのもテクニックなんで。
There's also a technique to the way you twist the thread.
やることも僕の中ではテンカラなんですよね。
So that in itself is part of Tenkara.
Hirata-san taught us to make horsehair lines.
平田さん、はいはい、部長のね、はいはい、平田さん。マム縛りの平田さんね。マム縛り。
What makes a good casting property for a Tenkara, bamboo Tenkara rod?
難しいですけど、案外竹そのものの持ってる素性があって、それで意外とうまくいくんですよね。人間って不思議なもんで、これでも違和感があるんだけど、握ってみるとこれで使えるっていうことなんですよね。パッと見るとすごく違和感があるけど、これで使えるっていう。結局人間がこれに合わ
じゃあ竿の特徴というより竿に合わせて人間が行動する。
そうですね。それで多分昔の人はそんな竹でもそんないっぱいある中からこう選んで作るなんてこともできなかったと思うんで、偶然手に入ったその竹できっとおかずを釣りに行っただろうし、だからやっぱそのテクニックの大半は自分の
腕ですね。
自分の腕、ここからここが一番の問題なのかなっていうふうに思うんですよね。
I mean, it's a natural material, and the people who were doing this a long time ago probably didn't have so much opportunity to go and take a long time to pick the perfect piece of bamboo. So it's really a matter of adapting yourself to the properties of the bamboo. And for instance, I mean, if you look at the handle, it doesn't look very comfortable to hold, but actually when you do, you can make it work, and it can be made to feel good. So the important thing is your own technique in the use of the rod.
And one last question, I just wondered where Saitou-san or Kan-san got his nickname from.
Saitou-san もカンさんとい
はいは
うあだ名ですけれども、それはそのあだ名はどこから来たんですか？
昔からなんですけど、この字が好きで、缶っていうのは魚っていう字を書いて、その横にパーフェクトの缶、パーフェクト、
完成の缶、
完成の缶、魚が完成された形の魚という意味で、それがアマゴと読むんですよ、これ。
あ、そうですか。
はい。
So that character has, on one side of it is fish, on the other side of it is the can of, which means perfect. And so it basically means perfect fish, and that perfect fish, or that character can be read as amago.
その意味はですね、ヤマメに対して赤いスポット、レッドスポットがついて完成したっていう意味らしいですよね。
So it's so you take a yamame and you add the red spots, and that is now the perfect fish.
そういう意味、それがすごく自分の中になんか嬉しくて好きで、そのことそのエピソードが好きで、でまあこの漢字をいただこうと思って、でこれをカンと呼んで、でそれをニックネームとして使って、日本語では屋号って言うんですけど、日本語でなんていうのかな、もう自分の名前以外にもう一つのあだ名みたいなのを屋号と言うんですけど、私はまあある意味カンというのを自分のもう一つの屋号として使ってるんです。でそれがここに。
So he really likes that story, and so he kind of adopted that character as his own nickname.
素晴らしい。ありがとうございます。
What a great guy.
Unbelievable. I mean, just like so warm, he's charismatic, really talented, he's a craftsman, just, a pillar of the community as well. Yeah. But that's not the punchline, because he gave us the goddamn rod as well.
Yeah, this is just, we'd been looking at it, we'd been playing with it, we'd had a fish with it, and we were just totally humbled when he just gave it to us. Speechless, just about
couldn't believe it. I mean, as well, it's not even the only rod that he gave to us, but the second one we actually felt that we should give it to Stephen, who'd done so much translation for us, and he's a Western fly fisher.
Yeah.
So it's actually a Takezao constructed rod, but with the real seat on and rings. Yeah, it's a lovely little fly rod, and that's just an amazing thing as well. But I've got to say, this thing, I'm going to actually fight you for it and grab it off you, because it's just a thing of beauty, isn't it?
Well, it fishes well too. We can have a look at that now. I actually got some footage as soon as we got back from Japan. Paul got this rod out and went on to the Discover Tenkara Syndicate waters and had a lovely day filming and fishing with this cane rod. So let's have a look at that now. some nice fish in there.
Well, thanks.
and a very nice rod as well. It's
I think that's where the credit belongs, because it's, you can see the recovery of it. It's such a soft action, but it's got that beautiful straight recovery as well, and that works so well with the manipulations, which we'll be picking up on a little bit a bit later on. But
the story doesn't end there either. Just when we thought things couldn't really get any better, Paul had some correspondence from Saitou-san. Do you want to tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's been part of like an ongoing dialogue. So I'm relatively regularly in contact with Saitou-san, because he feels a bit of a connection with the work that I do for the Wild Trout Trust in the UK. So that there's got the sort of the wild fish and the conservation aspect. So we have discussions about that. But more recently, I actually got a handwritten letter that had been translated by Mariko-san. And she said that Saitou-san had got into making these bamboo nets where he heats the bamboo and treats it and curves it into shape.
Yeah, I've seen a few pictures and it looks pretty.
They're just
serious
beautiful things, and obviously I said as much in the letters back to say that how wonderful these things are. But then the next thing was there's a knock on the door with the postman arriving with a parcel covered in Japanese writing. And he'd actually sent an actual net that he'd made from this Suzutake bamboo, because there was a lot of written sort of explanation of how he'd actually made the net in the previous correspondence. A bit of pyrography there that's Itashiro, Japan. And as I say, explaining that the species, the Suzutake bamboo that he'd used to make it, and that the knotless mesh, which is fish friendly. Yeah. I think this might be rosewood, but I'll have to ask him next time I speak to him. But just a stunning, beautiful, incredibly light, incredibly beautiful thing.
I'm going to take it off you because I want another go. I cannot describe just how light this is. It's almost, if you own one of those blue Tenkara line winders, if you're a Tenkara fisher, you'll know about the weight of one of those. It's about the same weight. It's almost no weight at all. It is fantastic. Really, really nice. Yeah. Now, I know you've been out and you've had a fish with this already.
You bet your ass have.
we have no footage so far, but I am genuinely looking forward to getting out maybe next trout season and shooting some footage, and we'll bring that to you probably next year.
We'll do that for sure, definitely.
Yeah, I think that'll be a great thing.
I don't know if you saw, but in that last piece of VT, I was actually using quite a lot of manipulation and pulsation of the fly, and that's a real big sort of feature in Tenkara, and it's something that we could do with picking up on, really.
Yeah. Now these manipulations, and there are many, many varied styles, they come under a sort of umbrella term in Japanese called sasoi. And many of the techniques have got specific Japanese names. Some of the techniques don't really have a name, they just describe it by saying what they're doing. But Paul's put together just a couple of these manipulation techniques that you may not have seen anywhere before. There's certainly not major features in Western fly fishing, particularly some of the ones that rely on the very high rod and light line, that immediate connection with the fly with no line on the water. So let's have a quick look now. There's a great little feature.
Now, one of my favourite techniques, and one that can really up your catch rate on difficult days when it's windy, is a technique that we've nicknamed line sailing. Now, it does have elements of dapping in it, but it also has elements of casting. Plus, you can use it for either surface or subsurface fly presentations. So there's a lot going on. But what it really allows you to do is stretch out your reach with a fly whilst holding all of the line off the surface as well. So it's extremely stealthy. It can be fantastic in flat water, and it can also be amazing in very complex currents where you want to avoid drag as well. So let's give it a go now. Now, the essence of this technique is using nice fly first casting, but then when the fly kisses down onto the water, you want to use any breeze that's available to you to hold the line up. And sometimes it's a case of waiting for the breeze to be at the right angle or the right speed. You can actually allow that wind to pick the fly up and dance it around a little bit. But you can get some very, very delicate presentations, even in very flat water. It's absolutely imperative that you keep all that casting line off the surface though for this technique. The interesting thing is, it actually doesn't matter which way the current is blowing, which way the wind is blowing, or which way the water's flowing. If you're using a technique to sail your line, you always line yourself up with the wind first and worry about the current direction later. There's a fish. You might often see the technique of upstream sasoi, or upstream manipulation, introduced as a basic or a beginner's technique. And whilst the mechanics are pretty straightforward, I think there's actually quite an advanced level in being able to choose exactly when to use this tactic. And the reason I say that is that if you try and use it in water that's flowing too quickly towards you, you basically end up moving the fly so fast that the fish has got no chance to take it. So you've got to really get your eye in to pick the perfect pace of water to make that presentation in. And what we've got in front of us is a great example, because there's a tongue of current here that's probably close to the upper limit of what I would normally be able to use for a standard dead drift presentation. If it was going any faster than that, then I would have to actually switch to a different presentation where I slowed the fly down. But just the other side of that, there is some slower water. And that's creeping into that boundary condition where it's just about slow enough that adding a little bit of extra movement, it's not going to spoil that upstream sasoi presentation. But it takes a while to build up that experience of what the perfect pace of water is to use both of those presentations in. The key thing is the fish has got to be able to easily see, track the movement and intercept the fly. If it's not got that confidence or that ability to latch onto the fly as it's drifting down, then what you'll find is that you might get fish rising to the fly and slashing at it, but they'll often miss, or you might get them to grab hold, but the hook hold that you can get is very poor because they've not latched onto it properly. So it's all about picking that perfect pace of water and then matching your presentation to it. And we'll have a go at that just now. I'm going to start off in the dead drift water, and you can see it's right on that upper limit of it, almost bordering on being too fast. This is a nice, slightly steadier spot, and I'm happier with that as a dead drift proposition. And if I creep in a little bit further, now I can start to use this upstream sasoi. It's a regular pulsation, but I'm just dancing that fly a little bit. Fly first cast, pulse, pulse, pulse. Let it get a little bit of depth, and then you can just animate that hackle. And again, because the current is washing the fly back towards me, the line actually moves more than the fly does. So you have to do a little bit more with the line than you think is appropriate. But if you use a nice visible fly, you can actually spot that under the surface. And that will key you in into giving it that nice regular pulsed movement. Hoopla! The flying fish. Well, what you quite often find is that fish will often take between in the pause between the pulse. So you draw it and then just as that slack goes into the line, the fish might grab the fly. Now this is a pretty little fish, hopefully one of next year's monsters, but it illustrates the technique nicely.
So nice fishing again, and it's probably worth noting that what you saw there was quite a superficial view of manipulation. Just to give you a taste, it's such a big subject, it would take more than a programme all to itself and beyond. It's something that you can spend a long time working on. I mean,
it's funny you should say that. It's I mean, I'll hesitate to count up, but I've spent many weeks in the email series actually doing weekly tutorials on this, and there's still tons more that I could write about it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not signed up to the email tutorial course, it's free. We'll put a link below the video. If you go to the homepage of our website, there are links there, and it's pretty much every week you get a lesson, don't you?
It's just like mainlining this information and just kind of software for your brain, basically.
And it's all free. It starts out with some Western fly fishing techniques. So if you are a fisherman and you fish Western fly fishing, it helps transition to Tenkara techniques using Western techniques you may already be familiar with. So it's a nice sort of gradual...
The way I use it, it's a painless transition. You get the building blocks that you need, and you learn Tenkara without knowing, without realising it. So when you get there, it's just there, it's hardwired, and it's easy.
If you're impatient, or if you've had the emails and you want even more, we've put together a great package, including the footage you've just seen, but so much more. Do you want to tell us about the sort of manipulations package that you've done for us?
This is what's going to come along with this programme, basically. It's the sort of the premium content, if you like. There's that entire seminar that I gave on the stream for the manipulations on the video. So you get the physical demonstration, you can actually see the timing of it, and that's something you can't communicate in the written word. But also what I've done is collated together a lot of the messages and the information from the email series and put that into a mini ebook. And I think it was running at somewhere around about 19,000 words, something like that. So it's quite a sizable sort of digital publication. At the end of that, there's a special chapter that actually gives more context. So it's stuff that's beyond the emails. It's the next rung up the ladder from the emails. And it ties it all together, and it also gives some additional techniques that we don't feature in the email series as well. So when you pair those things together, you've got the demonstration on stream, the teaching that you get.
The video content.
Absolutely. And the way that you can replay that, pause it, and take it at your own pace. Plus, you've got this pretty thick ebook that gives you the step-by-step and the interpretation of it, tells you how to understand it as well as how to do it. So you get both sides of it. You get the feeling of how to do it, and you get that mechanical understanding as well.
And let's not forget, it's not just about learning a technique. This technique will then catch you so many fish. I cannot tell you the wonderful experiences we've had at fishing using manipulations. That movement in flies seems to draw such an aggressive response from fish. The takes just seem like extra to what a regular fishing take has been.
And it's one of the things that Tenkara gives you, is that if you can change, if you've got a good solid game in manipulations and different presentations, you can change a manipulation much faster than you can change a fly. And the fish can change their behaviour much faster than you can change a fly. So staying on top of that without having to snip things off, put it in your box, put it away again.
Literally the time between a cast, you can switch around your whole approach, and if it doesn't work, you can switch it back in the time it takes to make another cast.
Exactly, same fly, you can have 3 different presentations. It's like you've put 3 different flies on and tried 3 different things.
And if you're willing to keep moving and actually keep stepping up the river, you can cover so much water with so many different approaches in such a short time. And this is the way, if you are the kind of person that likes to catch lots of fish, that is one of the best ways to go about it, getting that movement and the ability to keep switching up your approach without needing to change fly.
But don't forget, it's just really good fun as well. It's nice, the sensation of it and the reaction.
If you're the kind of guy that likes to sit down, take in the scenery, that added extra manipulation gives you a whole new set of experience as well. So whether you're the sort that likes to motor through a stream catching lots of fish or just enjoy what you're doing, manipulation's got it all, and if you're not doing it, I really, really would urge you to give it a try. You are missing out on one of the biggest treats Tenkara has to offer.
Yeah, 100%.
Up next, we've got a tip from Alberto Caligaric. Did I pronounce that right?
You got it, yeah, I nailed it, I think.
Yeah, I've been practicing. He's known as Ubi to his friends, and if you're on Facebook, it's Aki Kitsune. Akai Kitsune. Yeah. So he's a great guy. We'll be featuring an interview with him coming up in a few episodes' time. But for now, we've got a great little tip. We want to try and do this in every show. Try and show you just a very short sort of 1 or 2 minute hack or tip or trick just to make your Tenkara fishing a little bit easier when you're out on stream yourself. So here's Ubi with a little tip.
So I generally use 3 spools. You can easily, that's a very, very comfortable system to take your line off and on. You have here your line, then you sorry, I will show it quickly because I think it's interesting to hear. So you have your loop already
yes,
ready, right?
Knot, yes.
Slip knot ready.
Yeah.
When you close your line, you just do like this. You put it through, then you pull this, and
Nice.
It's automatically blocks the line in place without having to put it in the middle here and damaging the shape of the line and so on.
Yeah, perfect.
This is not my idea. This was taught to me by Masami. So
okay.
we have to be fair and give to Caesar what is from Caesar. Well, I don't know if you say that in English. But
Yes, we've heard that before.
Nice, neat little tip there from Ubi. That was just a tiny snapshot of a wonderful conversation that we had on that day. Now, I know, taking part in that conversation, what a fantastic chat we had on there. I cannot wait to share that as an upcoming piece.
He gave us just a great interview, and it's long as well, so I expect that we'll probably have to do an extended show to fit it in, because I think his interview is probably getting on for the length of this programme.
I can see it almost, it is good enough and it is passionate enough and there's so many fascinating facts in it. I can see that carrying an entire episode quite easily.
Yeah, he's a really interesting guy, and he's got a lot of really great insights into Japan. He's been living in Japan for 2 or 3 years now, and he's really immersed himself in the culture. He's kind of almost learnt Japanese on the job, hasn't he? And being a competition angler, his insights into what Tenkara has to offer at the very highest levels are just amazing, really. It's really worth listening to him.
It is all about that insight, and the thing is, we're spoiled with the number of people that are in that group of passionate anglers, and we've got another one.
Right
here.
Right now, in this interview, in this episode now, we've got Kazuo Kurahashi, known as Kura-san to his friends. He's such a genuinely humble guy, and so free with his sort of time.
I would
and
say
knowledge.
the amount of things that he gives to the Tenkara community and to that group of friends is just unbelievable. He goes the extra mile, basically, and he's a phenomenal angler. But you'd never hear him say that.
Yeah, he's such a quiet guy.
Yeah.
But when he speaks, it'll either...
You want to listen.
It'll either change your fishing, bring you to tears, or make you laugh. So here's Kura-san now.
So this is Kura-san, one of my good fishing buddies. Kura-san、フルネームと出身地をお願いします。
英語で？
日本語でいいです。
日本語でいい。
で僕が多分訳す形になると思うので。
はい。倉橋和夫倉橋。
His name is Kazuo Kurahashi.
僕は今岡山県というところに住んでいます。
Lives in Okayama Prefecture.
まあ日本の中では西の方になります。
Western part of Japan.
もう20年くらい前だと思う。
About 20 years ago. どこで？
居酒屋さん。
もうちょっと詳しく。
焼き鳥屋さん。
どういう状況で？
たまたま一緒に飲んでた人、全然知らない人だけど一緒に飲んでて、その人が渓流釣りするっていうのが分かって、その頃僕はルアーで渓流をやってた。
So, そこで聞かせ。So he was one night drinking and eating yakitori in an izakaya, and at the time he was a spin fisher. And he used to catch trout with spinners and minnows, right? And he just happened to he was talking to this man about kiryu fishing.
で、その人はベイトフィッシャーだった。
So he was a bait angler.
で、僕はルアーやってるんだけどという感じで話が始まって、でその人が、最近テンカラをやってみたっていう話をした。
And that man, the bait angler, mentioned that he had just tried tenkara.
でだけどその人曰く、まだ僕にはテンカラは早すぎたっていう話をした。
難しかった。
難しかった。
So the man said, was saying he thought tenkara was too difficult. He wasn't ready for tenkara yet.
だから一体テンカラってどんなんだろうという興味が初めてそこで持った。
And then he became interested in, fascinated with the word tenkara.
たまに海のルアーやる。
Every now and then he'll go do saltwater lure fishing.
あとはハゼ、ちっちゃい魚餌で釣るくらい
Or
か
just
な。
small game in the salt water, but ほとんどtenkaraですよね。
ほとんどテンカラ。
Mostly tenkara.
去年は 100%。
Last year was 100% tenkara.
実際にはいろんなタイプの毛針を川には持っていきます。だけどその日に使うのはせいぜい3タイプか4タイプくらい。
So he'll bring a lot of flies to the river, but he'll only use maybe 3 or 4 different kinds.
魚が出るかどうか。
If the fish responds to a certain type, color, size, basically.
やたらいっぱい釣りたい時期はあった。
He I mean, he's had times in the past when he was just really, interested in catching as many fish as possible.
でも今はどっちかっていうと、狙ったように釣れるかどうかっていうのが、数よりも僕にとっては大きなテーマで、もちろんたくさん釣れると嬉しいんだけれども、何も考えずにたくさん釣ったって僕にはしょうがないっていうか、あんまり価値がない。
So, I mean, he's always happy to catch more fish, but just you can catch a lot of fish by accident. But so, it doesn't really provide him with a level of satisfaction, but he is more specific about the way how he wants to hook the fish,
だからいいかけ方ができればもう1匹でも2匹でも OK。 ゼロはダメだけど。
He'll be happy with how he caught the fish. Of course it's important to catch a fish, he said.
だから、最近よく思うのは、自分にとってのテンカラってシャワーを浴びるようなもの。
So he was thinking earlier that tenkara fishing for him is like taking a shower.
パッとやって短時間でいい釣りをしてさっぱりしたい。
So he wants to get it done quickly and feel satisfied.
いろいろ言いたいことはあります。上手になりたいと思うならやっぱり魚がたくさんいる川で練習をしないとなかなか上手にはならない。 というか釣りは上手にならない。キャスティングの練習とか流す練習っていうのはどこでもできるんだけれども、どうやって魚を釣るかっていうのはやっぱりそこに魚がいるっていう、まあ、こういう川で魚がいっぱいいるところで魚の反応を見ながら練習しないと上手にはならないと思う。
There's a lot he'd like to say, but he thinks it's really important that you go to rivers where there's lots of fish so you can communicate with them, absorb them, and in order to become a better angler.
それからまあ本当にもっと言いたいところっていう本当に言いたいところっていうのはその天からだけを楽しむんじゃなくって、その天からをきっかけにして川であるとか山であるとかいろんな自然を知ってそれを楽しんで大事にしてほしい。
So it's not just about Tenkara. Tenkara is just a cause. You know, he wishes that people would enjoy the river, the mountains, the surroundings, and take care of nature, you know, in general, and understand it better.
ありがとうございます。
お疲れ様です。
So that's it for another episode. Season 1, episode
Pressure's
2.
off, yeah.
Yeah.
We've officially got a series now.
Yeah. Now, yeah, we said we'd improve all the time. We've got new lights in this time. I don't know if anybody noticed, but we should hopefully be just a little bit brighter. Yeah, it's growing all the time. The response that we've had online has been phenomenal. Emails, comments, the Facebook group. It's really been fantastic.
For me, that's what's most exciting is the ability for you that are watching it to actually shape what's coming up. Because this episode, okay, it's been made up from different bits of library footage and things that we've shot, you know, as for the episode.
Yeah.
But we've completely shaped that based on a conversation that we had on Facebook last week.
Yeah.
Which is crazy, you know. It's
Yeah, we're aiming to. Obviously, we have a plan for future shows, and we've shot things specifically for the shows. And when we talk about things, it may be several months before you actually get to see them because they're kind of scheduled on the show. But in this studio part of the show and in some of the smaller features in the show, we've got that chance to sort of react and be quite dynamic from one month to the next. So if there's something people are really crying out for, or there's a particular, a question that wants addressing, we're able to respond to that because we record just a couple of days before it comes out live to you.
Yeah, and what I'd say is the easiest way to get in on that process, to ask us the questions and have that quick feedback from us and from the rest of the Tenkara community. Because a lot of the top guys who are, they're kind of joining the Facebook group.
Yeah, they're there in the conversations.
Absolutely, and it's worth mentioning. Okay, we've got Tenkara in Focus, the page, which gives the episodes will be up there and that kind of thing. But to actually join the discussion, you need to be on Tenkara in Focus, the Facebook group. Now, I know not everybody does Facebook. I'm very, very well aware of that. But the way we set this group up, we'll put a link below the programme, wherever you're watching this, whether it's on YouTube or whether it's on the blog or in the Facebook group itself. There'll be a link, and no matter whether you're a member of Facebook or not, you'll be able to click on it and see all of that discussion. Now, you won't be able to contribute. To do that, you've got to join.
But you can see everything that everyone said. We are sharing a few short videos, some of our back catalogue, some things that have been private just for the email course, where there are a few videos where, if you are on the email course, you may have seen you get password protected videos. There are a few of those now shared on the Facebook group. So not only will you see the conversation, but you'll get to see a lot of little tidbits of things that are coming up, things that we've done in the past. So it is a really genuinely great resource. A lot of people are sort of, not very sort of enthusiastic about the whole Facebook thing. I have to admit, I was one of those people.
Really, John?
Yeah. I'm not terribly sociable with social media, but it is a great way to connect with like-minded people. And just scrolling down that page, it's great the way the conversations have gone. It really, it is worth joining. And if not, just check it out. You can at least see what people are saying.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned the emails. That is. Again, it's a guaranteed way of getting a heads up on what's coming up in the next episode. It's also, you know, a bit of interest, self-interest for people watching. It's also the best way to get any of the discount codes for the paid media.
Yeah.
If you see anything you like within the program or that's mentioned within the email, the free emails, it's always expanded on in the paid download and the paid digital media and the other products that we produce and publish. And, you know, the bottom line is, the better that we're able to share that and the more support we get through the premium content, the more of this free stuff we can go and film and bring to you and share with you. So check out the links below for that. If you're not a member of the free email lessons, I think, frankly, you're crazy for at least not trying it, because you can unsubscribe at any time. If it's not for you, that's not a problem. You know, you can unsubscribe from every single email. There's a little link you can click. You'll never hear from us again. But there's a massive... I've sat down and looked at the ridiculous amount of tuition that's in there. I like to say, I think it probably is the second best introduction into Tenkara techniques that you can get. And the only way of going better is either getting a day on stream in person with a top guiding outfit, or is to go and get the premium downloadable material. And that's basically what we're aiming to do. And we're reacting to it. So if you think it's good, let us know. If you think there's something we could do better on, we're very, very happy to hear that as well.
Yeah, I think, you know, if we finish off on a big thanks to everyone that supported us from the last episode, everyone that purchased the downloads, thanks so much. It's what enables us to keep doing this, and we hope to be bringing you this programme for many years to come. So thanks very much. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Are you still here?
Get out and fish.